Good morning, everyone, and welcome, and thank you very much for attending. Today, I'm going to showcase some of the new features that have come out in the 2023 Wave 1 release. On our agenda today, I have broken the session down into 5 key areas. First one being the Business Central application, and this is the changes, or not changes, but I suppose the new features that they have released or brought out within the actual application. Then we're going to look at the Power Platform, in particular Power Automate. So I think we need to, we often talk about it, and I think what we need to do now is actually start using these because there are some very useful tasks or processes that you can actually use. Then I'm going to show you productivity with another Microsoft 365 product called Teams and how we can start sharing information across that. The next one is reporting and data analysis. So this is within Business Central itself, and they've now started to allow us to do some very quick analysis without having to export stuff out to Excel, so that should be quite good. And finally, the last area is the user experience. So this is just how they're making it easier for us and more user-friendly when we get into it. Please note, I will be using the Cronus AU demo company, and it has no customizations at all. Everything I'm showing today is standard D365 Business Central out the box. There are a lot more features that have been released, and I recommend that you go and look at them. So as a reminder, I'm just going to show you how you can use the help functionality to see what other features they have released. So we need to click on the help, on the question mark up there, come down to where it says other resources, click on their help and support link. And you'll notice up here, we see which capabilities are coming soon. So once we link through to that, it's showing you all the release plans. Now the release plans are for everything within Dynamics 365, including Power Platform and everything else. But the one that we want to be interested or looking at is this one down here, the 2023 release Wave 1. Remember, Wave 2, 2023, will be coming out in October this year. So this is where it's showing us everything that's going to come through. What we need to do is come down to where it's SMB and through to Dynamics 365 Business Central and what's new and planned. So what's in here is it's showing you again by those various options, what's coming through. And we can see here we've got the Power Platform application. And you can see in here there's a whole lot of information. And this is where they've actually released a lot more than what they normally release. This is when it's actually going to be general public preview, which is the option that I get to see, but you get to see all of this on April the 1st. So all of these options have been released. There will be some down here that have not been released yet. We haven't got preview yet, so we can't see them, and they're hoping to release them round about then. So that's where you can see all the new features. So let's get started and go back and have a look at what's coming out. So today within the Business Central application, I'm going to just be going through like the preview of journals. We'll look at how we can restrict postings. On the inventory side, we're just going to look at what can be shown in warehouse documents, and then they've improved some visibility and usability in the inventory side. And then we're going to look at statistical accounts within the chart of accounts and the financial reports. And then we can have a bit of fun with Copilot. I know it's been a huge topic out there recently, so we're just going to go and have a look at some of those, what you can do. So let's get started. And the first one I'm going to look at is this preview item journals and 20 other journals and documents before posting. So in the past releases, with some of the documents, you've been able to preview the posting so that you can check if the right GL accounts are going to be updated before you actually post the document. This has been particularly useful, especially when you're starting using BC, and that way it's a good way just to check that the posting groups have all been set up correctly. It is also useful when trying out a new type of transaction for the first time. You're just not sure where everything's going to. You can use the preview. So Microsoft have now extended this feature to another 20 documents that will produce accounting journals. So these are the extra documents where this is now visible. So let's go and have a look at what they've done. So if I go into item journals, and it will, so I've got some transactions already in here. I've got about 18 transactions. Let's hope it comes up. I know we did have a message earlier on that there are issues today, but hopefully we won't have them in the presentation. So here's all my journals. I've got 18 particular items. So in this case, I just want to do a positive adjustment on them. So again, you can just click on the drop down next to the word post. Remember, if you click on post with the new menu, it will automatically go off and post, but you've now got the ability to click on preview posting. So it will now go through, work out what all the journals are going to be, and then you can have a look and see. Now you will notice when it does open up that it is going to, I've turned on something called hierarchical review. Not sure why it's a bit slow at the moment. We'll just have to wait for it to pop up. As I mentioned, I have turned on something called hierarchical review. It's something that was released a couple of releases ago, and I find it extremely useful. I'm just going to quickly come out of there. Yes, I'm going to cancel that one. Come back, come back into here. Let's go back out of there, cancel. Let's just do that again. Hopefully it will speed up. There we are, a lot quicker. Hopefully. Just have to wait for it to pop up. So here it is, the posting preview. And as you can see, there's all the lines there, and you can see which accounts are going to be debited and which ones will be credited. As I met, and then down here, you've also got VAT entries, you've got your item ledger and value. The nice thing that I've got here is my hierarchical view. And this will allow me to condense everything and just show me by each GL account what is actually going to be the posting. Now, if you haven't already turned that on, all you need to do is go into the general ledger setup. And there's a field on the right-hand side here called posting preview type. Generally, it's set to standard, but if you want that hierarchical review, you can go through and just click on extended, and that then gives you this hierarchical review, which is quite nice. At least then you can double check all the postings. So as mentioned earlier on, they have now given us the preview into all these other particular documents. It was very limited before. They've now actually opened it up. The next one I want to show you is defining an invoice posting policy for various users. So the current default option is when you're wanting to post documents, you get the option, and if I take a sales order, for instance, you can ship, or you can invoice, or you can ship an invoice. And I have been asked several times, like, can we restrict and just take away some of those options? Up until now, it's not been possible. They've now introduced this. So they have now got another couple of options now where we can set by the user whether they are allowed to do ship an invoice or just invoice, but you can prohibit people from posting the invoice, which means they can only do the ship or the receive. Or mandatory means they don't get a choice. They're just going to have to do everything together. So let's go and have a look. So I've got user setup. I have gone in and searched for all these options, and I've gone and bookmarked them so they're easy access for me today. So here are the users in my current system, and as you'll notice, for sales invoicing postry, mandatory, which basically means I'm going to be forced every time I click post, I'm going to be shipping and invoicing at the same time. But when it comes to purchasing, it's prohibited, which basically means I can't do the invoice. I can only do the receipt. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. If I go into my sales order and I take my first line here and I go post, remember this is mandatory for me. So it's going to come up and say, do you want to post the shipment and invoice? There's no option to choose ship, invoice or ship an invoice. Because it's been mandatory, it's going to force it through for me. So that's quite useful for some of your users. And then on the purchase order as well, remember mine was prohibited. So if I just take a purchase order and I say, right, I'm ready to post that, you'll notice I do not get the option to do the invoice. I can only do the receipt. So that's a really good setting for users in the warehouse. The next feature that I want to show you is the bin code and zone code. These fields are dynamically shown on warehouse documents. So whenever you had one of these documents, whether it was a warehouse receipt or a warehouse shipment or put away lines, you generally always had to go, depending on your warehouse and how it's all been set up, you had to go in and personalize your screen, and you had to put in the zone code and the bin code, and the same down at the line level. By default, these will now automatically appear if you're using the warehousing option within Business Central. So that's just going to save you time of customizing screens. So they're just good. You know what? You need to see the zone and bin, so we're just going to make it default on the screen. So that is pretty useful. The next one is usability improvements for the warehouse and the inventory and tracking areas. The really great one here is the automatically release documents. So for sales orders, returns, purchase orders and returns, assembly orders and service orders. What does this mean? So if I come in and I go to my sales orders, in the past, you would have to take your document, you would then have to come in, release it, and then from there, you would have to create your warehouse shipment. So before you could create the warehouse shipment or an inventory document, you always had to release it. Now, all you have to do is go create warehouse shipment. It will create that document for you. It will automatically release the document for you. So in this case now, it's actually creating the warehouse shipment for me. And if I just come out of my warehouse shipment, you'll now notice that the document has been released. So there's no more of that two-step process. Literally, once you've got it, go in and create either of your warehouse documents. If you are using them, you don't have to release the document first anymore. So that's a nice quick saving. If you're using inventory picks, you will now have the shipping details in the fact box area. So here's an example. So I've got an inventory pick, and obviously all the shipping details will come through, which obviously means that you've now got access to that information on your documents, where I think before it had to be altered if you wanted it. Automatically populate the tracking details in warehouse pick documents. So again, you'll notice here I've got some coffee beans from Indonesia. The minute I have got the lot number and the expiration date on the take part of it, it will automatically populate the corresponding place line with the same lot and expiration. So it's just automatically defaulting that for you, so you don't have to go in and update both fields. Once you've done it on the take, the place line will automatically be updated. If you've ever turned on lot and serial number tracking, you've got lot and serial numbers. They have now, and you can print that out on your report, especially when you're doing physical inventory counting. They have now also allowed you to put the package number on there as well. So for those of you who are using package numbering, that is also now available on your physical inventory list. And then the other one that they have improved upon is the special equipment. Now, what you will have noticed in the past with special equipment, if we went into an item and if we looked at the section at the bottom of it, I'll just call up one particular item here so we can go and have a look. So if I come into one item, I'll just scroll down to the bottom when it comes down. And in here, we used to have special equipment code. And in there, you could say whether a forklift was required or a trolley was required. Well, they've now changed, well, they've kept that functionality there, but they just made it a lot easier. So instead of having to go and populate every single record that needs a forklift or a trolley or something along those lines, if I go into my silver warehouse, they have now got down here special equipment. So basically we can now handle it based on the bin. So again, if I've got bulk bins and I need forklift, instead of having to go to each item, I can just go to that bin and say, right, that bin's going to need a forklift, or I can do it based on the stock keeping unit or item, which just means if you are going to do it by bin, you would just go into your bins here. And as you can see, it's now got special equipment code. And then I can come into here and actually say, well, for this particular bin, I can choose a forklift. Therefore, every time something is going to be used in that bin, it will know that a forklift is required. So it just makes it a lot easier to manage, and you don't have to go and populate all the items. You can now use special equipment based on the bin. So that's some of the new features that they've done around the inventory side. On the finance side, they've now introduced statistical accounts, which I think for some of us is really great news. In the past, I've actually had to go through into my chart of accounts. What I would have done, what I have done for a couple of my customers is right down at the bottom of the section here. I usually use the 999s down there. I would create something, like employees, and you see square meter, and then I would have a clearing account just to clear it out. And then I would obviously use a subcategory here called statistical accounts. But it just meant that every time I wanted to do a report or anything, I needed to exclude that statistical accounts. So what we've got now under finance is this thing called statistical accounts. So it's no longer part of your chart of accounts if you are using them. So you just go into statistical accounts, and here I've set up one called employees. So it's just employees, number of employees, and here I've got the balance. So basically all I'm doing is I'm raising journals. So I can see here I've got initial headcount for admin. And again, you can allocate all of these to different dimensions if required. Headcount in production, headcount in sales. I've hired, and then I've reduced. And then I've obviously put a new one in here as well, new D365 BC employees. So how do we actually use these? So you can just go into your statistical journal account. So you can get to it from within the actual statistic account, or from up here, you can use statistical accounts there. So I've put in the date, I put in my employees, I've said it is going to be a reduction of staff by 2, sales department, and then all I need to do is register it, and then it will write that off. Please note, you don't have to put a balancing journal, even though they call it journal. It does not have to have the other side of the entry. It's just a one-sided entry, which is a bit different. But all we need to do now is just register it. That's now been registered. That goes okay. I can then come back out, and you'll now notice that my balance has been reduced by 2. I've also got the same here on office space, same principle. There's all my transactions, and I've just gone in and put them broken down by the different dimensions. So while I have all these statistical accounts, where can we actually use them? So if we come into finance, into financial reporting, you can now start to use these accounts in your various reports. So they've set up one here for me. And I will point out at this particular point in time, there have been changes within the financial reporting area, being more cosmetic more than anything else and making things a little bit easier to understand. I think in the past, we used to have to go in and edit the financial report in order to run it. All we need to do now is, you'll notice here, they've got this extra button up here called View Financial Report. So I'm just clicking on that, and here is my report, just with my columns. And you'll now notice I can add in number of employees, 73, and there's my revenue per employee. Please note that if you do click on here, there are no drill down capabilities into there, but you will have, when you click on where there's been a calculation, it will say, right, it's taken column A divided by column B times 100. And in this case here, it says it took row 15 divided by 20 to calculate that particular formula. On here, you still get your drill down into your transactions. That hasn't changed. But just to show you how they set this up, I can now go and edit my defaults. And it says, what do you want to do? I want to actually, I don't want to change my column. I just want to show you the definitions. So if I, there it is, row definitions. So here it is, same setup as you would have done in the past, you know, putting in your row numbers, putting in descriptions. So when you want to use these statistical accounts, if I come down here, there's my row number, number of employees. In the drop down here, you have now got extra things. I've also noticed they've thrown in account category as well. So if you want to do a report based on your account category, you can do that. So statistical account, you choose which one it is you want to see. And again, you've got net change, balance at date, beginning balance as per standard. And obviously you can bold these lines or you can show opposite signs. And there they've done the revenue employee, which is basically taking the sales of retail divided by the number of employees. So I thought that was quite useful. The statistical accounts, for those of you who may need them, you can now start to introduce them into your reports as well. And this is just one I'll quickly show you on here. Edit the row definition. They've now done this by account category. And you'll notice here, this is the other drop down that they've got, account category, and then you can pick up which one you want to show. Okay, so just giving you a bit more flexibility when you're doing your reporting within Business Central. And the last one that I wanted to show you within Business Central is just a bit of a fun one. It's called Copilot. A lot of you would have heard a lot of chitter chatter out there about ChatGPT and all the rest of it. It's now nice to see that Microsoft are actually bringing that into the ERP systems. So what is this create Copilot to generate product descriptions? So on your item card, you'll notice if you turn on the fact box, and I just must make a note here, it's not yet released for Australia. It is coming out, but we have managed to secure a US environment where I've been able to play around and test these things. So it will be coming. It's just not released yet, but we will let you know when it happens. So basically, you can select the attribute, what we want to include. We can look at our attributes. We can emphasize a quality, a tone of voice, a format and length, and then we can go and create the draft. So let's go and have a look. So this is my item card. As you can see down here, I have got some marketing text. I'm just going to edit it. So this is just a black stool. I've got here attributes to include. So if you have used the attributes, which ones do you want to include? I don't want that one, but I'll just say I want to choose the color and height. If I've got more attributes, you can select which ones you want. Excuse me, there's more settings here. So I can emphasize a quality. Do I want to innovation, sustainability, the power, the elegance? I might just choose elegance on this one. My tone of voice, do I want it to be formal, casual, inspiring, upbeat, or creative? Let's go formal. And then again, do I want a tagline? Like you can see here, get charged up with the stool bolt black, or do I just want a paragraph or both, or just something brief? In this case, I'll choose the tagline and paragraph, and then I'll tell it to go and create the draft. So it's gone off and it's now coming back with a suggested description for me. So there it is. It's now created the description. Elevate your style. Again, it's entirely up to you. You can actually come in here. You can create the draft. You can append it. You can change it. You can do what you want to. And when you finally finished with it, you can just go OK. So once you've done OK, it then will update the marketing text down here. So basically, for those of you who have a website and you're trying to come up with some creative descriptions, you can use Copilot to start creating them for you. Let's say it's a bit of fun, but it's actually nice to see Microsoft that they've gone and built all this artificial intelligence. They've got all of us, but they're now actually bringing it into our day-to-day lives within our ERP systems. So once it comes up, go and have fun, and yeah, look forward to seeing your descriptions on your websites. So the next area we wanted to look at or showcase out to you is Power Platform. And I just wanted to touch on this briefly. So what is Power Platform? It is a set of offerings from the Microsoft stable, and it includes Power Automate, which we're going to look at today. Power BI, as most of you know, this is the business intelligence tool for analytics. Which I can either sit alone, or as you've all seen, it's integrated within Business Central itself. And the other one is Power Apps. So this allows you the ability to build an app, which you can then capture information or retrieve information from Business Central. For instance, capturing of an order, which will then become a sales order, or look up inventory at different locations. But the one I want to focus on today is the Power Automate. So basically what I'm going to show you is when we create a customer, we want to send the customer an email with an attachment. So let's go and see how we can do that. Let me go back to the system. So what you will notice is when I come into my customers, in fact, on most of the screens, you will now see there's this option down here, Automate, and you'll have Power Automate, and you can create a flow or you can manage flows. Now, Microsoft do have standard ones that you can take and tweak. And in this case, I'm just going to say manage a flow, and I'll just show you what will happen. So I've got one here. These are my flows. So when a new customer is created, I'm not technical, as most of you will know, but I have managed to put this together. But if you do want to start using it and need some assistance, please reach out and we'll be able to assist you. So what I've said here is when a record is created, go and get that record. And then basically, if the email is not blank, then I've got two options. If it is blank, then basically don't do anything. And in fact, I've said send an email to myself, and I've just put a garbage email together. But if it is got a value in there, we're going to send an email to that particular customer. The subject will be welcome, display name. Now, when we do this, we have got access in here to all the fields on that particular record. So we can actually put information into here. So I can have in here, I can put his customer number as well if I wanted to. And then I can say, welcome to Fujifilm Microchannel. Here are your main contacts. You can build up your own email content that you want to. At the same time, I've also said, well, when I will send them an email, I also want to send a message to the finance manager or someone else. In this case, I'm just sending it to myself just so that I can show you. I've got new customer has been created, display name with a credit limit of X. So basically every time I come into here and I go and create a new customer, I'll demonstrate this for you. I can come in here. I will put in my new customer for today. And then all I need to do is put in an email address. So I'm just going to quickly put in my email address, demo.on. So that's my demo email address. As soon as I have done that, it will now shoot off an email to me. And some of you may have heard that in the background. And it should also send something through to Power Automate. So there's my email. And you can see, oh, okay, something hasn't quite gone right yet. But what would normally happen is it would actually send you, so we were testing this this morning, and Jaideep sent something through to me. So here's my demo customer. Here's a microchannel welcomes you. We have created your account. But what is nice is you can actually start attaching attachments. So if you want to welcome your customer, you can send them that, and you can also, oh, there it is. It's taken, sorry, it just came through and it took a bit of time. So there's dear, my new customer for today, microchannel welcomes you, and it's obviously attached the attachment that I had put onto there as well. So if you are wanting to welcome a new customer to you, you can send a welcome pack or some notes or instructions and things along those lines. So that is one of the capabilities that you can do using Power Automate. And then in here, they should have also sent through to me a new customer has been created, and that will come through and letting me know. And that was the new customer that we sent through this morning. So it's just to give you an idea of what you can do, that you can send out email notifications and also through to Power Automate as well, through to Teams as well. And sometimes, like, because I'm trying to send it to myself, it gets, it does come up as Power Automate rather than as someone else. Okay, so that's just an idea of what you can do using Power Automate, just to give you some ideas. So if you want to explore that, let us know and we can work with you on that. Now, the other thing is productivity with Microsoft 365, in particular Teams. So you can actually send copies of your documents through to Teams, and then it will appear on that person's team with all the information. Now, due to privacy reasons, not everybody has been happy with the balances and the balance due being shown and credit limits. So what you've now got the ability to do is to just show a record summary, so that when it goes through to whoever you're sending that to, it's not actually showing the details. So let me just show you what this is all about. If I come into here, you just go and look for something called card settings. So remember, for most of you, you will have to just type it in and search it. I did book mine because of the demonstration. Bookmark. And here it is. So all I need to do is go next. When card is shared, what happens? Do we want hiding the record summary removes all fields and images, but continues to show the details. So I'm saying just show the record summary or not show it. It depends whether you want to just have that privacy factor, go next, and then obviously it's done. So what happens is when it comes through to Steve, what has happened? So what you would normally do is when you go into customers, let's scroll up tray. Remember, in here we want to go up to the top. We will then share to Teams. And then once it's in Teams here, it will come up. I've just got to sign in. I just have to sign in because I've got a couple of different accounts that I've been using. So I will now go off to Steve. It will pop up Steve's name. There he is. And then I can say to Steve, please go ahead and have a look at the document, or go and have a look at this person, go and check his balance, do what you need to do, and share that out with Steve. That then will come through. So what has happened in the past is, you'll notice there will be the customer card, there'll be his balance due. There's quite a lot of information, and there will be a picture in there as well. Once you have turned on the privacy side, as you saw, you will just get the customer card, but the balance and the balance due are missing. Okay, but once Steve or whoever gets the message clicks on it, they will then get into the record, and then they get the full visibility of that particular customer or vendor or whatever it's going to be. But it's just one of those things, you know, if you've got people walking past your desk, you may not want all the details on display. So here I can get to see all the information, but just when it goes to Teams, it's just going to show a bit of privacy on that side. So that's just using security controls on that there. So the next one is also a bit of fun here, reporting and data analysis. So basically what they have done is they're now allowing you to do some analysis and filtering, doing a bit of pivot tables within Business Central. So in the past, you would have had to take this out, export some of these listings out to Excel and go and play in there and do your groupings, pivots, all the rest of it. You will soon be able to do this within Business Central. I did check this morning and I noticed it's not actually released yet, but it should be coming. So let's go and have some fun. So I've used my posted sales invoices. And what you will now notice on all of these screens and these listings, there's this button here called Analyze. All I need to do is turn that on. And what will happen is it will create another tab for you called Analysis 1. So if I click on here, it will now create another one, Analysis 3. And it just brings through some information for me. Let me go back to Analysis 1. So on the side here, we have got columns. So these are all the columns that are available and that you may want to see or not see. So for me, if I actually click into here, I didn't want to see the customer number, I only wanted to see their name. So you can turn these fields on and off. When it comes to row grouping, in my grouping here, you'll notice I've just got the year and I have got the customer. But if I want the month as well, all I need to do is drag that and drop it into there. So in fact, let me just actually take that down one more. So now I've got my year, I then got my month, and then I'm getting down to my customer. And there's my values in here as well. So that's just one option. And again, if I wanted to on this analysis filter, so I have got 2023, 2022, I may actually want to go, let's just take the customer and put him first. Let me just drag that up a bit. It's a little bit small in there, but you'll get the idea of what I'm trying to do. Come on. Take that, move that up to the customer name. So again, I have now basically grouped it by 2023, 2022. On the analysis filters here, I'm going due date equals, and I can say less than 2023. And what you'll notice, I'm now left with just 2022. So again, I'm starting to do a lot of filtering. And again, you can use any one of these fields here for filtering. And I can go and equals, maybe I just want to pick out 2 certain years. To remove the filter, I just get rid of the data. And now you'll notice 23, 22 has come back. What you can also do if you come back to columns here, I'm actually in pivot mode. So you can pivot if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. This is another one I've done, and all I've done on this one, if I come back to, sorry, my columns, I've done the row grouping of closed. So you'll notice here which ones are these ones, some remaining. These are the ones that haven't been paid yet. So these are all my outstanding posted sales invoices, the ones I can go and check on. But also look at the line down here, which you can see this light aqua color. If I just drag my mouse over certain values, you'll now notice that I've got an average. I've picked up 9 transactions. That's the minimum value, maximum value, and that is the sum. So again, they have done quite a bit of work in this area, and I think this is going to be quite nice. Don't have to export out to Excel anymore and go and play. You can start to do it in there. And as I say, once I turn that off, when I come back, I want to analyze my data. All those columns that I had previously done are still here. So this is where I'm just going to my columns and I'm going, if I want to drag something, row groups, just drag by customer name. That's how easy it's going to be. And then obviously you can then choose anything else that you want to. You may these are the fields that are currently available. Obviously, they will develop this more. So that's something that's really nice and fun that they've actually released or will be releasing shortly. And finally, the last area is user experience. So basically they have improved the drag and drop files onto the upload dialog. Access, now if you, someone like me, I used to be very keyboard orientated and everything need to be done on the keyboard. They've made that a lot easier for us. We can also tailor the action bar on the document lines, and they have finally aligned the headers on the statistics page. It was something that really annoyed me, so glad to see they've done that. So let's go and have a look at the first one, so drag and drop. So they've just given us a new way of interacting, so we can either drag files and drop them, or you can still use your click here. When it comes to the menus, just by pressing the Alt key, it will now give you letters that you can then use on the keyboard to actually get that functionality going. So for this particular one, let me come in, and I'm just going to take the analyze off so I can get to my document. In here, I've got the 403. You will notice under attachments, documents, I've already attached a couple in here. But if I wanted to, I could just come into here, and the minute I click on attach files or something new, here you can see here's a drag and drop feature. Now all I'm doing is taking my document, dropping it onto there, and it's uploaded for me, and there it is, accounts payable training. What is also nice, if you haven't noticed, is they have now changed this, and you can also now open documents from your OneDrive. So again, that has been released. I think it was in the prior release. If you need more, go and have a look at it on the help pages. So that is the attachments. In here, if I now wanted to start using my keyboard rather than using my mouse to go and do things, I just press my Alt key. So in this case, if I want to, I can then click on, or just press I. Haven't touched my mouse at all. I mean, if I wanted to look at dimensions, I just press D on my keyboard and that will come up. So very quickly, I can go Alt, I, D, and there are my dimensions. I've just used my keyboard only. So for some of you, that may be really useful. The other one that they have done is we can tailor the action bar to fit your needs on the document. And then again, obviously the alignment of the header. So you can see here, they have kept, instead of this period being way over there and this year being over here, they have aligned everything. So let's have a quick look at those two. On here, I'm not sure if I've done it on this document. No, I haven't. I'll just go back to my sales orders. Let's go and show one where I have changed something. I'll come in, go to my sales orders. Pick up one of the lines. I'll just pick up the first one. Come on. So what generally happens for me is whenever I'm looking for things, I kind of have that sales line open. And if I come down to my line levels, I would normally have to either have that there, go into item availability, or drop down and then go and choose what I want to see it to. You can now change it and you can actually pull. So before you would have item availability by, an event would be in here. I've now gone in and personalized my screen and taken that event and put it on the line there so I don't have to keep picking it up. Now, something else that a lot of people will use is related information and possibly the document line tracking. So all you need to do is come into here, personalize. I then come down to my related information and I want document line tracking. Click on that line and now move it up to there. So that is pretty useful. And then hopefully that's gone up there. Let me just double check it's gone up. No, it hasn't. Let me go and put it into there. And that should now drop into place for me. So therefore, instead of having to go into that line information every time, I can just go straight document line tracking. Obviously, if this was based on a sales quotation, it would show my quotation. If I was an invoice, it would show me the receipts, and it would possibly show me, sorry, the shipments and the sales orders as well. In this case, there's just the one sales line, and obviously it's been amended, so it's obviously showing me the prior version as well. Okay, so that's the being able to customize at the line level and bring features up into there. The other one, as we all know or have seen before, is on the order. If I go and look at my statistics, when I come down, is it on this one? No, it's not on this one. That's probably on my customer. I'll go into my customer record and have a look at it there. This one doesn't have. Let's quickly go into customers. And if I look at the statistics page now for a datum, you'll now notice that the headings are lined up. They used to be way out of sync. So like this year would be over here somewhere, and this period would be over there. It was really, really confusing. So they have lined that up. You don't have to do anything to get that. That will automatically appear for you. So that is some of the features that I have shown you today, and hopefully they will be useful. I've tried to cover off stuff on the finance side, a bit of fun, but of the inventory side. So if you need any help, then please contact your account managers. They are listed there for you, and then they can organize a consultant to assist you.